All right, folks. Welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always on the other side of the screen, on the other side of your earbuds, it is
Matty Juice. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fresh Juice. Excited, very excited about this episode for two reasons. One, the game. Two, we're getting closer to PAX East, Tom. I can't freaking wait.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, yeah. I mean, I believe this is a first. I'm not sure that we are reviewing a game that we did the demo of.
I think this is a first. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So a little back-to-back action. I mean, we probably could have done the Balatro demo, but ended up... Actually, I'm glad we didn't do the Balatro demo because I would have already been obsessed, and by the time we even got to the review, I would have been a little nuts. For now, I had all that extra content to do that I had been waiting for, but alas, that was not the case, and yes, I'm still playing a ton, and yes, in the Fresh Juice Discord, we have a channel dedicated just to Balatro, right? We got a new member of the Discord in, I believe it was like Sploosh is the name. Sploosh was the username. Came in, found our podcast, joined the Discord, and hopped right into the Balatro, started talking about their pretty incredible Balatro runs, like a 20 million hand. I mean, that's insane. I need to reevaluate my life, but I always play it like so close. The margins are so tight on my winning runs that I never feel like I like slam it out of the park, which is, I guess, whatever. Maybe that's just the kind of gamer I am. But
yeah,
Matty, Matt, how are you doing? How was your week?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Had a solid weekend overall. Let's see, what did I do? Oh God, don't really remember what I did on Saturday, but I know on Sunday, me and the wife Maria went to Princeton.
Nice.
Hung out in the town of Princeton, New Jersey. Pretty cool place. We walked around like Princeton University, which is like, I don't know if we were supposed to or if you can, I don't know. But it kind of felt like we were back in college and just walking around. They have a nice campus, had some good food, little shops there. And one thing I got to say I appreciate about Princeton is like the parking, at least near the university, it doesn't kill you with prices, you know?
It's not too bad.
I went, the parking garage, we stayed pretty much like, I don't know, 5-6 hours. It was $5 for parking, which I always appreciate. And, you know, something when we went to Atlanta that and we're going on a little tangent here, but we went to Atlanta, they offer like in a lot of their parking garages, like the first hour is like free. So if you just need to go and like, you know, drop something off or like whatever, maybe do quick shopping, whatever it is, you don't even have to pay for parking. Same thing in Princeton. It's the first like 30 minutes, I think, are free. And then the prices after that, pretty good. So I was happy about that overall, just because parking down there can be a little bit of a nightmare. But overall, it was a good time. Nice to have a little date day, you know, with the lady. And now it just work this week already. It's only Monday. It's been a pain, you know. But with each passing day, I'm just excited for the PAX trip so that I can not work and also check out some new games. But other than that, you know, it's been going well. Well, what about you, Tommy?
It's good, man. Well, I love Princeton too. It's a great town. I used to live like the next town over. Shout out Lawrenceville. I used to live over there, and it's a good time. I like Princeton a lot. Good restaurants, good bars. Nice college town, right? Like you get a lot of cool stuff, but like because it's Ivy League, you get some like kind of fancier stuff too, which is pretty neat. You mentioned you had some good food. Did you eat anywhere in Princeton?
Yeah, we went to some place called like the Taqueria. It's like, we just kind of kept walking around and just were like, this looks good. Stopped in there. It was expensive, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know. Maria got nachos. I got a burrito. We both got a drink, and it was like $35. So I was like, holy hell.
Yeah.
But whatever. You're in Princeton. It was really good. So it's kind of almost worth it in a way. But yeah, went there, and then we also went to the Bent Spoon,
Mm-hmm.
which is there. We got like a little hot chocolate. It was a little chilly, and a cookie. So
Nice.
that was good. Yeah, yeah. But they had a lot of good looking food places there, though. Definitely want to check out some other ones.
Well, yeah. Well, next time you're there, and anybody listening that is going to visit Princeton, check out Conti's Pizza. It's kind
Okay.
of like their legendary pizza. It's like a thin crust. It's like a bar, but it's like I guess, kind of a bar pie, thin crust. It's a little bit off the beaten path. You kind of have to go down Witherspoon a bit, and you get down there, and you find it, and it looks like an old building. It's very old school. You go in, you kind of feel like you're walking into like the 60s or the 70s, and it's a really good pie. I'm not gonna lie. It's a smaller, very thin crust, but if you're into the
Yeah.
thin crust, check out Conti's. It's a bit of a banger. It's not the best in Jersey. We can go all day about the best in Jersey, but it is certainly one of the better in the Princeton area. But that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. I had a interesting weekend. I went to a Flesh and Blood tournament, a game that I play and have a podcast for. Fresh and Blood, you can see right behind me. Homemade sign right over there. Signed by the
There it
creator of the
is.
game himself, as well as a bunch of buds.
Hell
And
yeah.
I went to the Battle Hardened, it's the name of the tournament, Philadelphia. And of course, like anything in this world that you think is in Philadelphia, it's actually at the Valley Forge Casino in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So I was there all weekend. There was a tournament on Saturday. That was the Battle Hardened. And then there was a Pro Tour Invite tournament on Sunday that I also played. And I'm not gonna lie, I got my ass kicked this weekend. I'm a good player. I'm a good player, but my deck was just not right for that tournament. And I ended up going 4-4, like 8 rounds on the battle hard. That's a long day. Went 4-4, so like even Stevens, but like you want to end up at the top tables. It just is what
Yeah.
it is. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I get some better variance into my opponents on Sunday at the Pro Tour Invite tournament. That was 7 rounds. It was 15 rounds of card games in 2 days. And I went 3-4 at that. And that was brutal. That one was like my whole drive home, like the hour drive home back to Jersey. I'm like thinking about what did I do? What could I do differently? What am I doing in my life? I can't wait to play Board Blasters and review this game because maybe Flesh and Blood isn't going to pan out for Tommy Fresh over here. But but all that being said, I think I still had a great weekend because I saw a lot of buds. Too many to count. Some listeners of this show. Shout out
Nice.
the Turtle Maturin, Burke. Shout out, buddy.
Turtle.
We got dinner on Saturday night, yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time, but I'm happy to be back in the saddle with you. One more week, and then a super busy week of me going away for work for 3 days, and then getting home for a day, and then to Boston for PAX East. I cannot wait, and that's going to be a blast. It's not going to be a bore, but it's going to be a blast. But I'll tell you what's not going to be a bore or a blast. No, it's it's going to be a blast, but not a bore, is the review of this game. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the news. What is new in the world of indie games, Matthew?
Yeah, so I threw this article in here, thought it was pretty interesting. So apparently, Warner Brothers, this is what the article says too. I like how it puts it. Warner Brothers is going full Coyote versus Acme by delisting a host of indie games, and nobody is more shocked than the original developers. And a quote from the developers: "It's kind of depressing." So apparently, earlier this week, an indie developer revealed that Adult Swim Games was retiring the title from digital stores, their game from digital stores. And apparently, in the days since, the developers behind other games such as Fist Puncher and Sound Dodger Plus, have not heard of these, unfortunately, have confirmed that they're also being affected by the decision. And it seems that every Adult Swim published title is eventually going to be going away. So Adult Swim Games has not been around for a few years. And just a quote from one of the developers in here. Um, they said, in terms of how it has affected me, it's kind of depressing. I'm very proud of the game. Talking about one of their games here. I think I'm missing the title, but they can see why they did it. Adult Swim Games hasn't really been a thing for many years now, and everyone I worked with at the publisher has long since moved on to other places. When you're working with purely digital products, nothing is going to stay around very long. So I thought this brought up an interesting conversation, right? Because there's always the discussion of like physical media and digital media, and I feel like even those people that are like really physical media purists have some sort of digital media at this point. It's kind of unavoidable. And I have always, growing up, I think, both of us, we only had physical media, right? Whether it was games, movies, music, whatever it was. But nowadays, I pretty much get everything digitally. And so, it just, obviously it's just something you have to think about when you're getting everything digitally is that, yeah, it could be taken away at any moment, at any point. Even if you're like backing up your games, I'm sure that something will break at some point, for these kind of old games. So I just thought it was an interesting article on how it was kind of, obviously affecting the indie market and the indie industry. But yeah, just really interesting here, especially from like Adult Swim is so well known. I
Yeah.
feel like that like this almost, it'd be one thing if it was a publisher that no one had really heard of, but this is obviously one that people have heard of, and even though they haven't been active in a few years, I do think it's a pretty shitty thing for them to do, especially it seemed like they did it without warning as well. But yeah, what do you think about this, Tom?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate and, kind of sad to hear about. Like, just like bringing me back to Adult Swim, right? Like, that was very, kind of important for a lot of us and our friends, middle school, high school. You stay up late, all of a sudden Cartoon Network starts playing the edgier cartoons and stuff like that. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. And to hear that, even the fact that they had a game studio that eventually went away is sad. And now that we're losing the digital media, it brings up a pretty interesting point. And there's been a lot of discussion in the film and TV realm, more so than the video game realm, because film and TV, like, yeah, there's still DVDs, box sets, and stuff like that, but all of a sudden nobody's buying those anymore. And then if there's something that happens where it's not on any like streaming service, and then people realize that, and then everybody starts buying up whatever physical media there is of it, then it's just gone, because once it's out of stock, a lot of these publishers of like movies are not republishing DVD. It's like it's too much of a risk for them. Even if they think there's demand, like, you gotta find somebody who's manufacturing DVDs still,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then you have to place like probably a big enough order to make it cost effective. And it's so tough. And I think it just came up with 28 Days Later, I think. It's not on any streaming sites apparently, and every place was out of stock on 28 Days Later. And that's a great zombie film. If anybody hasn't seen it, please check it out. Has Oscar winner Cillian Murphy in it. It's one of his earliest roles. And actually, that's where Christopher Nolan saw Cillian Murphy on screen and decided to get him in Batman Begins. And then he's been in like almost every Christopher Nolan film since. And now he just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But
All because of the DVDs.
the DVDs, but like
DVDs. Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, yeah, just start, buy a VHS or VHS somewhere and just start like recording movies. Like, it's legal because the old VHSs or I guess they were called VCRs. Like, they were like, they had the record function built in, right? So you can record TV shows and stuff like that. So like, people are just saying, like, if you like something, record it like while it's still on like a streaming site so that you can have it when it's finally gone. And it's a little bit of a shame that we don't have like some kind of, I guess, universal kind of way to save games like on a physical piece of media. Like it'd be cool if like there
Yeah.
was like some kind of adapter that I can put a blank Switch cartridge into and just upload a game to it. That'd be pretty awesome. Then we start
Yeah.
fixing stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but it is sad to hear. So you know, I hope that there's like some kind of way that we kind of could solve that and bring back at least some kind of bootleggy kind of physical media for video games to kind of try to save these video games as well as the TV shows and the movies.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there are ways to like back up your games. Somehow, I've seen people do it with like Breath of the Wild comes
Mm-hmm.
to mind for some reason of people kind of backing up their games to their computer. But I still think you need like an emulator in order to like play that, right? If you ever like lost your Switch or whatever, you couldn't just like load that back onto your Switch, I don't think. But something that's interesting as well with this article is that one of the developers says that they asked Warner Brothers to simply transfer the game to their Steam publisher account so that it could stay active. But Warner Brothers said no, and they basically said that they don't have the resources to do it. But the developer said that they're confused by that because the transfer process is not complicated. It literally takes 2 minutes on their end, apparently. So once again, right, is this a hey, we don't want to, we want to remove these games from the digital stores, but we still want to keep the IPs, right? Like, it's one of those like greed sort of things, or is it really just, maybe it's not as easy as it seems? But that's another thing. That's another option that I think a lot of these games could have is like transferring it to another publisher account or another publisher acquiring those games, those IPs. But regardless, obviously just a really shitty situation. And, even if these games, weren't super popular, I'm sure that there was some sort of passive income for these indie developers, whatever that amount was. I'm sure it was definitely important to them.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think it was Max, like HBO, that notoriously just started removing stuff from their platforms. Like Over the Garden Wall, I think is one that people bring up all the time. I never watched it, but I guess it's a pretty popular cartoon show or like animated show, and people kind of figured out that the reason that HBO is doing it, and it could be the same with Warner Brothers here, is they don't want to pay residuals to
Yeah.
to anybody, right? Like they don't want to pay the writers, they don't want to pay the developers. Maybe they're getting residual checks here. So like, that's an interesting thing. But I hope that some kind of resolution happens, even though it doesn't sound like it. But we do gotta
Yeah.
just make more physical games. I'm gonna get Baltro and box set.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can get that right at the casino, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But we do have a great game to talk about today, and it's one that we did a demo of, as we talked about earlier. It is Board Blasters, which is developed and published by 8-Bit Skull. Currently, I think just on Steam. Is it on browser too, or is that just a demo?
It is on browser. I don't know if it's just the demo, but
Mhm.
it probably is just the demo, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be hard to put the whole thing on there, but the game is on Steam. It's $9.99, currently on sale till March 22nd for $8.99, which is what we bought it for. We did buy this game, no keys here, and it is well, I guess you'd call it a vampire survivors like roguelike, almost digger. I don't know, like miner, like kind of like game. It's a dwarf
Yeah.
game. It is a dwarf game. It's important for the dwarf tag on Steam, and yeah, well, let's get right into it. Let's just talk about this game. How did we like it, if at all? Maddie, start with the gameplay. What are you
Yeah,
thinking
let's
here?
do it. Yeah, so gameplay, I really enjoyed the core gameplay loop here. So you start out, like Tommy mentioned, it's a game about digging, right? I always think of Dig Dug with this game,
Mm-hmm.
just because it has, we'll get into the art style later in the show, but it has like that kind of retro sort of art style, that SNES vibe of art. But you start out kind of in a level, obviously at the top of kind of the ground, and then you start working your way down by you're actually using your mouse and your keyboard here. Typically with like a Vampire Survivors game, or VS like, whatever you want to call it, you're really just using your keyboard, So this is kind of almost like a twin stick shooter in a way, where you are using WASD on the keyboard to move your helicopter, which is what's digging through the ground. I like to call it a helicopter. It's probably not called a helicopter in the game, I would imagine.
Yeah, something like that.
Some sort of blaster, but then you're using your mouse to essentially aim where the bullets go, and those bullets will destroy the ground beneath you. There's different gems, enemies. You kind of keep going deeper and deeper. You can find treasure chests. You're trying to basically complete the objective for that level. So it could be killing a certain number of enemies. It could be finding certain things under the ground, parts for ships, things like that. And then after you find those parts, you're going to end up trying to find the end of the level, basically, which is a giant treasure chest, basically, is what signifies the end of the level. But what makes it really interesting is you have a limited amount of fuel. So that has been the toughest thing for me gameplay wise, is trying to do all these things and make it through the level without spending all of my fuel. And there's been many times where I've been right at the end where I'm like, I know my my helicopter thing is about to explode or about to run out of fuel. But then I'll find the end of the level. You can find fuel in the ground as well to kind of give yourself a little bit of a boost in the fuel department there. And what else was I going to mention? There's also what's different about this game too, Tom, that I really did like, is that if you fail a run of kind of going down in, I guess a level, I'm not going to call it a run because the run consists of multiple levels, right? In this game, if you fail a level, you don't lose all the gems and everything that you've kind of collected throughout the level other than quest items. You'll still have to do that quest again because you didn't complete the quest, which I really like because that allows you to, it kind of relieves a lot of the pressure when it comes to the gameplay, where I found myself like going into a level fully expecting not to make it to the end of the level. I'm like, I'm just going to go try to get as many gems as I possibly can in this level so I can upgrade. There's a bunch of different things you can upgrade on your craft, your whatever you want to call it. So I would do just basically little runs in the levels of just getting a bunch of stuff. I would die, and then I would just upgrade my ship to either have like a higher fire rate or last longer. If you bump into the walls, like that does damage to your ship, so you can increase the amount of times you can bump into the walls as you're digging down into the ground. So there's a lot of really cool things with that. And I technically have not even finished my run yet since I started playing the game, because there are levels that unlock. So after you complete a level, there's kind of a grid of different levels, little islands that you kind of fly over to in your ship, and that's how you start the level. So after you complete a level, you'll notice that the other little floating islands unlock around your island that you just completed, and you can kind of continue making your way through there. So for me, for example, I really was having a lot of struggles with like the fire levels. There's like different kind of elements with each level. So after a bit, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fly to another level, and I'm gonna do like I did like one of the beginning levels, because the quests, it doesn't matter like what order you're kind of going in with these levels. The quests kind of follow the same pattern. So like if I failed a quest in the fire level, maybe I move to a non-fire level and I still have that same quest. So I can go ahead and get that done quicker and it's easier. So that's what I was doing. So I have not actually completed a full run yet, just because there's so much that goes into these runs. I feel like more than any other like Vampire Survivors like that I've played, even if you want to call it a Vampire Survivors, like I don't even know if
Yeah.
I really would. I feel like it's almost like its own thing. I haven't really played a game, even from like a control standpoint, that's like similar to this. So yeah, overall, I mean, I know, I went in on that gameplay there, but I really enjoyed the gameplay. I think it has so much replay value. I think that's the biggest thing with this game, it just has a ton of replay value with each level. Each level is different as well. I'm sure it's all procedural, it seems like. So, you're kind of getting a fresh take every time you're hopping into a level. So, although I found the game pretty difficult at times, I did find it forgiving because it didn't force me to kind of play those difficult levels. If I wanted to go to another one and level up my ship a little bit more and then go back to the hard one, I could do that. So, yeah, really enjoyed the gameplay here. But what about you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I enjoyed the hell out of this game. This is, and I played the demo, right? And the demo was like a lot of fun, and then you start playing it like for real, right? I didn't want to play the demo too much because I was like, okay, there's gonna be a lot here. You could already tell.
Yeah.
And I just love the idea of giving you an objective that means something rather than just like go to this place. No, you gotta go do specific things and the quests, and then you still have to like find out how to beat the level at the end, like try to get like you mentioned. And I enjoy the kind of like little like this is like a Vampire Survivors like kind of thing where it's the mini game within the game of figuring out what you want to upgrade when you get enough of the silver gems, which allow you to upgrade. Maybe like something that explodes around you to help deal damage, or even like make your special ability reload quicker. And each ship or each character, and that's another thing. There's multiple characters that you can unlock, which is really cool. Each character has their own special ability. The one you start with has kind of like I guess you just become invincible and you can just blow through all these bricks.
Yeah,
And
like a
stuff like
ball
that.
of fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically.
It's basically like a battering ram. And then the second character that I unlocked, I've only unlocked 2 so far. She has like these like homing missiles that like do like insane damage and clear whole big areas, which is also like pretty useful. And I kind of like the mini game within the game of trying to figure out, all right, well, what's going to help me with this specific mission? And that's something that I think like is missing in things even like the classic Vampire Survivor, because like you're like doing stuff and they want you to do certain things, but when you're upgrading, you're just like trying to upgrade whatever you think is best for the like what you're doing, right? And like whatever they're feeding you. But sometimes in this, because you have certain objectives, you're like, okay, I typically like this upgrade, but for this mission, this upgrade makes so much more sense. I have to go with this. And I kind of like being presented those like kind of decisions. And then the controls do feel really easy and really tight. And I use controller, and it was super easy. I mean, it's just like just like the twin sticks as you mentioned. And I really like that the top down design. This is something I talk about all the time in Flesh and Blood, but like where they said, what if we had dwarves that had hover ships? They are kind of like helicopters, and they got to mine through stuff and then like beat enemies. What would that be like? And then they designed the game, right? And that's exactly what this feels like. It's like a lot of intent in the gameplay. Like everything makes a lot of sense. It feels like you're in a cave because like the enemies can float around wherever. It's their domain, right? You are in their domain, and it makes sense that you have to kind of obey the laws of this game because this isn't your domain. You're like the enemy in a way. You're showing up on these little planets and like basically destroying everything. So like, like I think that's pretty cool. And I don't know. It's just fun. It doesn't feel mindless. Like I think like it could easily be super mindless, and it's not. And I for that reason, I think this gameplay was super solid. I'm excited to keep playing this game. And I'm probably going to play it after this podcast. Well, after I edit this podcast. Yeah. And then I'll be playing it. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you. So I also have 2 characters unlocked. I'm sure there's more. It looks like there's room for more. So I'm excited to see what they are. Which character do you prefer? And which upgrade would you say you choose more than the others when you're actually in a level, or which item? Whatever it is. Curious.
So I still like the first character because it's definitely his ability is geared towards beginners because his special ability, you're like invincible for a hot minute. And I gotta say, I win levels because like I just kind of like get to a point like when if my gun's not strong enough to like break the bricks easily, I kind of like hover there for a minute, wait for it to reload, and then like progress through the level. Like it's just kind of what you have to do until you start actually upgrading your ship until it's like really strong. So I really like him. I have a feeling I'm going to like exploring the other characters, and I kind of like how it, you know, a lot like not to keep on bringing a Baltro, but like it feels like the different decks, right? Like you have to reset your mind to like what this character is doing, and I always like stuff like that. Like a lot of roguelites will just be one kind of character, like even Dead Cells, which is a great one. You're always the headless or whatever his name is, and in this you kind of have that kind of variety, which I do like. So, but you know, another thing I do like about it is it kind of has a story, and you mentioned it. You have like these missions and objectives that are kind of story based in a way, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. You basically have like these little kind of dialogue pop-ups that happen at the beginning of each level, and they're like, they basically try to introduce the quest. So it'll be like, I know I just played a level earlier where there were some goblins that were kind of hiding in, they were hiding in like pieces of stone, it looked like. So at first, the guy who was talking to me when I started the level, he's like, "Oh, come back to the ship. Like we need you." And then he's like, "Oh, they're here. They're hiding. Get them!" And I'm just like, "All right." I didn't even know what he meant at the time. I'm like, "I guess I gotta find something." And then I saw that those guys were hiding there. So there's little story elements like that. It's definitely not. I wouldn't say like I haven't really noticed like any like cutscenes. I mean, there could be something. Like first of all, have you finished a run fully yet?
No.
Or
I put
okay,
about, I mean, an hour and a half into the game. You know, played. I mean,
yeah,
played a decent amount. You know, in the day that I had with it. But you know,
yeah,
I feel like I'm just upgrading a lot of stuff right now. Like I'm having trouble with some of their harder levels. Which I guess this kind of goes back to gameplay. Like there's levels that just have different kinds of bricks that do different things to you, and it becomes increasingly difficult to kind of deal with them. Like the first one I
yeah,
had trouble with was the green levels, right? Like the really grassy levels. You get to a certain point where if you break a certain brick, all of a sudden the stuff regrows, and if it hits your ship and starts dealing damage to you, you could die. So like
yeah,
I kind of in that point right now, and I, definitely plan on retackling it later. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I haven't finished a run yet. No, like cut scenes per se, but they have their own kind of cutscene. Like when you start a level, you get, like you
yeah,
said, the text box, kind of introducing the mission,
yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking because I have not like finished a run yet, and the reason for that, like just so the listeners know, is like there's a lot more to a run in this game than some of the other games that we've played that have runs, like Balatro or even like Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I know we didn't cover it on the show really, but like it works a little bit differently and you can kind of get through those runs a lot quicker than in this game. I feel like in this game, there's just so much more to explore, so much more to think about. That yeah, I don't know if like at the point I'm getting to is like at the end of a run, like there could be some sort of boss cutscene that maybe
Mm-hmm.
ties into the story a little bit. But really, yeah, all I'm getting like from the story side of things is like these dialogue boxes that kind of introduce the quest for that level, and they're usually like funny, or also when you found like the second character that you could play as, that was a part of a quest, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was cool. You had to like rescue them from deep beneath the ground there. So that's also like a cool story element. I'm sure the other characters that we'll play as will have to rescue as well. So I like how they kind of incorporated that like new character mechanic as a story item in the game. So yeah, I thought that was great, but yeah, there's not really like a super strong story. This isn't really like a story driven game. It's kind of a kind of a bonus, I would say, with the story in this game.
Yeah, it's like they add a little bit of flavor, right? They're
Yeah,
world building by just adding little bits in each mission, right? Like you know that there's a reason for each mission. And I think that's like the story here. Like, the king wants you to do this. Go do this. The goblins are, jerks. Kill them. Stuff like that. So it's just kind of like building out this Board Blasters world where, arguably it'd be cool to kind of see a different game in this world of like a different genre, right? Like, because like you're just playing as these kind of Board Blasters, characters that are just like kind of going on these like missions to like dig through these planets and stuff like that. Well, what about if we got like, ground troops or something like that for like almost a Contra style Board Blasters game? It would be pretty neat. So I think that, like you said, it's not anything deep or anything like that. It's a little silly, which I like, that's kind of cool too. But they understand what the game is, and I think you could very easily just not have any of that. It would have been a fine game, but I think it adds to the experience for sure. And that's usually what you look for in a story, especially with like a kind of roguelike kind of game that like this is, that you kind of just enjoy like a little bit of flavor, even in like like Balatro, like when the Joker talks shit on you, that's flavor, right? Like it makes it sets a game apart. Like, could have just been nothing. And then, it's smart for a developer to just not do the nothing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like the easy route, right, is not incorporating story elements. So when you do incorporate them, like, we appreciate it. So if the developers are listening, we appreciate those little extra flavor, a little extra flavor you got there. But also, I just remembered, what was your favorite item? That or the most used item, I guess you could say.
The one I'm most used, God, I forget what it's called. It looks like a hammer, where basically it would do like splash damage around you, like periodically.
Oh, the axe? Is it the axe?
Not the axe. Not the one that it would just like kind of like do like a little blast radius around you. Go.
Oh, okay. Was it like the bombs? Like, did the bombs jump out?
No, I have that one. Yeah, no, the hammer is pretty cool. Like it's literally just every once in a while it will pulse. It's almost like sending like a pulse of damage around you, and it helps kind of blow through the level. That one is pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually haven't even unlocked that yet. So that's another cool thing about the game.
I'm a pro gamer, dude.
Yeah, I got a different experience. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, for me, I mean, I really like the axes overall because you can add to them. They kind of spin around your character, and then they deal damage to enemies, and they also destroy the blocks around you. So I'm like, oh, that's just like so efficient, But I really do like, there's like a thing you can get that's it kind of just drops down and just digs like a hole straight down, whatever, like a drill. I did enjoy that one as well, just because like some of the levels, I'm like, I just want to get to the bottom as quickly as I can. So like I'll just choose that upgrade, and then it just helps you get down there. And I did find myself using the second character more than the first one with the heat seeking and the home seeking missiles. I thought like it just clears out so much space that I just was like, holy hell, this is great. But the first character is great as well. But I'm really curious to see what are the other characters going to do.
Yeah,
like the second one did way more. I was like, there's no way I'm going to end up using the second character because the first one was just so good. And then I started using the second one. I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're going to build on top of that. But anyway, harping on the gameplay there a little bit. But let's talk about the art, Tommy. What do you think of the art in this game?
Oh, it looks great. And I even just mentioned Contra. It kind of feels like, almost Contra or Metal Slug in a way. I think Metal Slug I think of when I look at this, like Super Nintendo, like early, like 90s arcade style looking game. I love the character design here and the level design. I mentioned the different kinds of levels and the different kinds of bricks that you can kind of run into. They make it all pretty unique and pretty obvious what they are and kind of what they're doing, which I think is pretty neat, right? Like the fire, like animated like it was doing what it was supposed to do, and then like the poisonous gas one would kind of like send these little clouds of poisonous gas, and they would hurt you. And And then especially the vines one, like the grassy one that would like grow up towards you. It's it was really effective because I'd be like, oh, shit, 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 shit. It was like trying to like
Yeah.
destroy it. And I kind of love the way your ship looks. It looks sleek. I want to drive one of those. And the enemies looked really neat as well. They all look different, which is cool, and they kind of make sense for what they are, and I think they really nailed it on the visuals. I can't really think of any complaints here. I really like the vibe here because, and we're gonna get into it in the sound as well, but like it really nails exactly how you're supposed to feel here. It feels like this kind of like, it doesn't feel like true sci-fi in a way. It feels like this almost like not steampunk, but a little bit of steampunk,
Yeah, a little bit.
steampunky, like almost cyberpunky dwarf, like like miner punk,
Yeah.
or something like that. Like it was dwarf punk. We'll call it dwarf punk.
Yeah.
If dwarf punk is a thing, this is that game, right? It feels a lot like that, and I just thought they really nailed it, and kind of like those dark tones, and then it makes like the brighter colors really contrast really well, and yeah, huge fan of the visuals here. I'm a sucker for any kind of pixel art, and this is definitely one that is really scratching that itch. A lot like Secrets of Grindia as well too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Totally agree. And I really enjoy also like when you're outside of the levels and you're just choosing a level flying like to the floating islands. Like I just love the way that those look too. I don't know, there's something, I guess it's like a Secrets of Grindia thing as well. Like pixelated floating islands just always look cool to me.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's just awesome. Like it's just so cool.
What's it doing up
Yeah.
there?
Yeah,
You
what's
crazy?
going on up there? Yeah. How's that? How is it doing that? But no, yeah, everything that you mentioned, like I totally agree with, like the different elemental themes that the different levels have really like are just like so well done. Like you can join, you can go into like a fire level. It's not going to be fire right from the beginning. You still have to get through like the dirt, at
Hmm.
the top, and then all of a sudden you get to the fire, and it's just awesome that that's the way that they did it, because it kind of mimics obviously a little bit like real life, right, where you have to get through the dirt and then get into the magma, and all that sort of stuff. And I also really enjoyed the kind of like claustrophobia that you can kind of get from this game, and I guess that's important to point out too. If like, I don't think if you have claustrophobia, if you're listening, like you're gonna have a big problem with the game, but like just in terms of like you were mentioning, you have certain blocks, certain levels that there are a lot of hazards that are happening. So not only do you need to try to avoid those hazards and try to progress through the level, but you also need to make sure you're not bumping into the sides of the cave that you're digging out. And so sometimes it could be like a really tight squeeze. You're like, oh, and you just like you like just make it through, or some blocks are harder to break than others. So you kind of always have to be like, all right, I have to go in this direction because these blocks are too hard to break. So I'm gonna try to dig through this way, but then there could be enemies over there, and you just start to feel like sometimes you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with it, right? Because you're just so deep down, you're like, there's nowhere for me to go. I have to fight through this. And something I really enjoy too is like the deeper you go, the darker it gets. So
Yeah.
when you're aiming with like your controller or with the mouse, you kind of have this cone of light that like goes all around. And there were multiple times where like I would turn the cone of light and there'd be like the goblin guys like crawling towards me. I'd be like, oh my God, like, like you just can't see them really if you're not looking in that direction. So they'll sneak up on you. And I just thought like from an art standpoint, that was such a brilliant way to do it. Cause it's like you said, it's like, we're intruding on their territory here. So the way that they move versus the way that we move is like they're moving like they know this terrain. We're moving like we have no idea where we're going.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get through. So I thought that was really well done. There's also damage numbers that pop up, which are just really satisfying to see, especially when you're using like big attacks. So I thought that was great. They didn't have to do that, right? The damage numbers is something that the game didn't really need, but it just makes you feel like you're doing more. So I really enjoyed that overall. And then, there's just so many great things with the art, opening up treasure chests and everything shoots out, finding that last treasure chest at the end of the level, the giant one, and just feeling like you got like rewarded.
That big
Um,
green check mark is just like,
yeah, the
yeah.
you're like, yes, get me the hell out of here, yeah, absolutely. A big green check mark that shows up. Just a lot of really great art overall. It's also really easy to tell like the different items that you choose. Like each one has obviously a different ability, but they also can affect like your ship. So you might choose something that I'm trying to remember. Like I think I had like the drill one, for example, that like drills down into the earth. You can actually see it. It's like attached to your ship after you choose that upgrade. That's a little thing that they didn't really have to do,
Mhm.
right? That like not a lot of the other like kind of similar games to this, like the Vampire Survivors, like I guess is like the closest thing we've played to this like really do that from what I remember. Like even like Vampire Survivors is not like you're choosing like the Bible or the book and like
Mhm.
your character actually changes. It's just kind of what around you changes. So I thought that was a really nice touch, like from the art standpoint. So yeah, overall, I mean, um, it's just a really colorful, deep game when it comes to the art. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I can't wait to play more levels that I haven't seen. Like I
Mhm.
haven't seen too many of those Vine things. I have seen them, but
Oh
like
my
now I'm
god,
excited.
dude.
Now I'm excited to play more because I want to experience it more from the art standpoint and also just from the difficulty standpoint. So, yeah, the art just super good in the game.
Yeah, it
Super
is.
good.
And I think you brought it up, but like it's worth noting that your hitbox is probably just smaller than like one brick. So like you can go through just like one space. So like, if you're playing and you get the drill, right? That will clear a single path for you, right? You can't really move much. You gotta go one direction. So like I even thinking like when you kind of figure that out, like there are ways to beat these levels if you want to be like a skilled pilot. If you want to be like Han Solo in Millennium Falcon, right? Like,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
yeah. You could be that, right? Like that could be your way you beat these levels rather than kind of being like me sitting around waiting for my power up to come back and like, all right, I'm going, and just like killing all the enemies around me until I have my boost again. But it's awesome. And you know what else is awesome? Well, the game, obviously. I think we like this one a bit. Is the music and the sound effects. The music right away. You're hit with this like spacey 80s action movie vibe, right? Like it reminds me of Mitch Murder. If anybody knows who Mitch Murder is,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like
That's a throwback.
yeah, who did like he did the soundtrack for Kung Fury, which was like this like YouTube like kind of like movie that they a short film they came out with like I don't know maybe 10 years ago at this point where it was like 80s neon lights like Miami Vice vibes like kung fu and like buddy cop stuff they nail that kind of sound here and it really works with this kind of dwarf punk vibe that we're talking about and then the other thing I like about it specifically the music here is it's not super high tempo in a way. If it is, they're giving you a lot of space in between things. Like it's like
Yeah.
boom, boom, and what that does, and I think this is something they probably picked up from things like Vampire Survivors. I believe it does this in a similar way. It allows that space to be kind of where the sound effects of the game kind of shine, right? Like the really satisfying, like when you're like killing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's this nice little contrast of the sound effects in this soundtrack where, you get like, I don't know, it's like a weird polyrhythmic kind of thing based on your sound effects and the music behind it. And I like it, and I really like the synths. Anything with like a really 80s sounding synth, I'm all over. And this is just did it for me. And I think, if there's any complaint, maybe I would want more of it. Like I think like it doesn't change that much, but there's not anything bad about that. I think, but
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more variety if I'm gonna nitpick. But I mean, I was like jamming out to it. Like I was playing, and then I had to go do something on my other screen, and I was just like kind of like just jamming out to it. Like okay, this is pretty sweet. So like even in like the main menu, like when or not main menu, like when you're in your run, but like you press pause or whatever. That's what I did. I went over to go do something on my other screen. Music's playing, and then there's like rain, right? And it's like almost sounds like crystals hitting stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is it raining outside?" I was like, and it wasn't. It was all in the game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely same. Yeah, the music was fantastic. I really enjoyed also like even when you like lose the level, right? You're not losing your run, but you lose the level. The music is still great when it's kind of like tallying up your score and showing you all the gems that you get, and you hear the gems just like stacking up right there. You see that number get from 10,000, 20,000, 30. You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna be able to afford one thing on my ship. But yeah, just even that music like in between the levels just was really satisfying to me. And yeah, I mean, I think you really said it all with the music. I just really enjoyed it. Um it could have easily been something, and we've played games like this before where like music's just like, it's fine. The game didn't really need banger music or anything like that. But this one definitely really really strong music in the music department as well. So props to the devs, or props to audio engineer, whoever it was that kind of came up with this style of music. Because yeah, like you mentioned, it never felt like, even though there are moments of kind of like claustrophobia in the game, I would say, it never felt like the music was really contributing to that. Like I was just like feeling overwhelmed because the music kept like raising the tempo or whatever it was. Yeah, so overall, I did really enjoy the music, and I found myself like, it's so weird. Like when I would lose a level, but not lose the run, but I would lose the level, I would like look forward to the music because I'd be like, yeah, like this is good music right here. And then I'd be like, yeah, I guess I'll try again, because you have the option of like trying that level again or just clicking continue so you can level up your ship, and then you can go back to the level if you want to. So, yeah, really enjoyed the sound, the music. The sound effects were great, obviously, with destroying the blocks, destroying enemies, collecting gems. It just kind of got that addicting sort of sound design where, you just want to kind of keep collecting things. So, yeah, overall worked pretty well for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? I think on the performance side, I would be surprised if this had any issues. I didn't have any issues. Did you have any issues?
Honestly, I could barely even play it. I was trying to run it on my TI-84, and no, it ran great. Yeah, no issues whatsoever. And did you play on? Oh yeah, you did play on Steam, but this could easily be a Switch game.
Be
I would
awesome Switch
imagine.
game, and that would
Yeah,
be it. Would be a problematic Switch game, much like Balatro is a problematic Switch game. I can't be like staying up till 3 a.m. every night playing these roguelites. I mean, it's
I
like
know.
it's actually no. If the devs are listening, we hope they are. Put it on Switch. That would be pretty sick. I'd buy it again. I would. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's like the problem with like a lot of the games we've been playing lately, right? Is like Balatro and even like Deep Rock Galactic Survivor and Board Blasters. It's like it's all these games that like I want to play all of them at the same time,
mhm.
but I don't have enough time to do it. And I just want to like there's such easy games to just pick up and play. The replayability is so strong, but I don't have the time to play all of them. Like I wish that we like spread out our reviews, something like these games came out like months apart from each other, because I just want to play all of them
Mhm.
together. But I know what time it is though,
What time
Tony.
is it? It's time.
It's rating time. I don't know.
It's really, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is the rating time. We have our final rating, and our ratings are as follow. The best thing it could be is certified fresh juice. These are your Norp Apologues, your Balatros of the world. A Steel, things like Secrets of Grandia, like a pretty good game. Get on sale. Maybe, I got to think of more examples of a good get on sale game.
We got Cocoon. You
Cocoon.
gave. No, that's not. That's a Wizard with a Gun.
Wizard with a Gun, get on sale. You know, like has its merits, but maybe not the best. And then a manager special, something like, you know, get on a deep discount. I think you said Just King is a manager special. I said it was something. I said it was a little bit worse than that. And then finally, Spoiled Milk is you know, the what you don't want. Right? You want fresh juice, not spoiled milk. So, Maddie, I can give mine. I think you've been giving yours first. This is an obvious certified fresh juice. Enjoy the hell out of this game. This is the kind of stuff I want to see come across my table, come across my desk, right? Yeah, here at the Fresh Juice headquarters. Like, give me well thought out, fun game loops, just nailing it on the aesthetic and sound side. There is so much about this game that is special, and I hope it gets the good press. And we're kicking it off right now with our, you know, big press release here of our review. But this is a game that I think really could nail it with like a lot of people, and I think that is something that speaks to its excellence here. And I really enjoyed it. I want to keep playing it, and that is really all I really need. And I want to see more board blasters, like whether it is, like I said, different genres in this world, or even just like an expansion on this game. Give us more characters, give us, like, you know, whatever extra content. I think we'd all be very happy with it. So, certified fresh juice for me for board blasters.
Yeah, I am right there with you. I'm giving this a certified fresh juice. Just everything from, you know, obviously I think like the art, the sound, obviously the performance was good. You know, they all help support just an incredible gameplay experience. And I've mentioned it a few times during the show. Just the replayability here is just so good. And that's what I look for in games like this. Like, am I going to get tired of playing this? And like I said, I'm still on my first run. I've maybe done like, feels like I've done like 10 different levels. I don't know if I actually have, but every level I'm going into, I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, oh, I haven't seen that before. Like, what is that thing? You know, like it's surprised me at every turn so far. And I'm just really kind of, yeah, just really enjoying it. So this is a certified fresh juice from me, which is a double certified fresh juice. And this is almost on back-to-back weeks. We had Secrets of Grindia, where we gave it a steal, and then Balatro was the week before that. So we were pretty close in back-to-back double certified fresh juices. Maybe next week, or maybe, I don't know. We'll see what we're doing next week. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Talk about that after.
Yeah, but yeah, no, just it's been a killer year so far for indie games.
2024 starting off hot. Let's keep the ball rolling. I hope PAX East has some bangers for us to check out. I'm super excited. Now, we do have listener questions, and a great way to submit these is by sending them in the Fresh Juice Discord, which you can join in the show notes below. And then also, if you live with me, you can give them to me personally. That is just for one person who keeps giving them to me. But the first one comes from K Moore, longtime Matty Gorm fan.
Woo!
This is a question for that funny-looking Mr. Beast guy. Who's that? That must be you, Matt.
That's
when
me.
were you going to tell us that you were voicing a character in Kung Fu Panda 4?
Well, I'd like to make the announcement right now. I am voicing the panda. That's right. Jack Black is out, okay? And I'm stepping in. He's done. He's doing Bowser stuff, all right? He's too busy. No, I don't know. I guess Mr. Beast is in Kung Fu Panda 4.
Okay.
I didn't even know they were making a fourth one. I didn't even know they had 3 of them, to be honest. I thought they had 2. But Yeah, I guess Mr. Beast is in Kung Fu Panda 4. I'd like to be getting those residual checks. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice
You
till they
know?
take it off HBO Max.
Yeah, yeah, true. But yes, good question, Game More. Thanks for
Game over.
sending that in.
Yeah, Capolo asked, "What is your favorite fresh juice?" This is a good question. The juice meta is pretty tough. Not gonna lie. What's your okay? I'm gonna
Yeah,
hit you with mine.
go for it. Hit me.
So it's orange juice. I love orange juice. Like a fresh orange juice is just so good.
Yeah.
However, I'm not the biggest apple juice fan, but an apple cider, for whatever
Mm.
reason, I don't know what the difference is. I'm not even gonna pretend to know. I just know it's better. It just feels better inside of me. And like
Yeah.
if apple cider counts, I'm taking a fresh apple cider over any other fresh juice any day of the week. Apple cider
Yeah.
is banging. But
It
if that
is.
doesn't count, fresh orange juice is pretty dope.
That's pretty on brand with the orange juice right there. Um, yeah, no, I like apple. I like orange juice. You know, they're good, especially like you get like a freshly squeezed of either one. I feel like the freshly squeezed apple juice is like closer to like a cider
Mm-hmm.
than like normal apple juice is closer to like freshly squeezed apple juice. But I gotta say, one of my favorite juices is a guava juice.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty underrated. I had a good amount of guava juice when we went to Costa Rica, and I was like, "This shit, like, what is this?" Like, I was like, "This is amazing." So, like, we come home, and we've had guava juice in the house. Unfortunately, I mean, with a lot of juices, it's got a ton of sugar in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't have it often. But I'm a guava juice guy. I'm gonna choose guava.
Guava's like a pretty underrated pick there. I think that is a good one. I mean, it just has like it's almost like mango juice, but like has like a more of like a not hard, like harsh is not the word. It's not as sweet as mango could be like so sweet. Guava can kind
Yeah,
of just like be a little bit mellow.
yeah,
I mean, I will say cranberry juice. I love cranberry juice. I'm
yeah,
I'm a big cranberry juice fan, but like I don't really have like fresh cranberry juice ever. I just have ocean spray. So like
yeah,
I don't really know what's going on in the fresh like cranberry meta or whatever. It's probably a lot more bitter to be honest if I know cranberries and I know cranberries, folks. So but Capolo, thank you for the question. And then
yeah.
finally, our Carp 11 submits a question that has the world in a tizzy for the past forever. She asks, "Is a hot dog a sandwich?"
No. Next question.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a no for me. It's a hot dog. It's
Yeah,
closer to a taco if I'm gonna be real here. I understand it's meat between buns. But what are the kids saying? Pause.
yeah,
Meat between buns, whatever. It's not a sandwich. Nobody and my rec room actually brought it up that nobody has ever referred in like real life to hot dog as a sandwich. So
yeah,
or nobody's commonly doing that. So I have to go. Hot dog is not a sandwich.
yeah. Now, if that starts happening though, if all of a sudden, in 20 years, I'm going to order a hot dog somewhere and they're like, "Oh, you want a hot dog sandwich?" I'll be like, "I guess it's a sandwich now," because everybody's calling it sandwich. But for
Sure.
right now, yeah, I'm gonna say not a sandwich. The only thing that's like in the back of my head of like maybe it's a sandwich is because you got the hot dog bun, you got the hot dog right on top of the bun,
Sure.
and you think of like a Wawa hoagie, right? And
Sure.
it's got the same sort of
It
type of
could be
bun,
a
right?
V. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got the V of the meat in there, and I'm like, I consider that a sandwich. Why is the hot dog not a sandwich? But I guess like a hot dog has just become its own thing. That it's just like
Yeah.
it's outgrown the sandwich category. So I'd probably say, yeah,
Well,
it's not a sandwich.
here's the checkmate in the argument. You see a hot dog not in a bun, what do you call it? A hot dog.
A good time. Oh,
It's a hot that's a hot dog. That's the hot
true.
dog. The bun is just a delivery service. You don't see a stack of roast beef and like lettuce on the ground and you say, "Look at that sandwich." No, you say, "Look at that roast beef." Right? Like
Yeah,
that
that's true.
is that's the checkmate there. But you're right. If somehow the hot dog paradigm shifts in the next 20 years and they start calling it a sandwich, I will be right on. Well, you know what? No, I won't. Because I just made the argument that if I saw a hot dog without a bun, it's still a hot dog. Get out of here with the sandwich nonsense.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Done.
But
Good question.
that's a good question. Thank you, our Carp 11. And finally, we get to the end of the show, which means we're going to do our rec room where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game and might even be a demo for an indie game. What are you recommending this week, Matty Juice?
Yes. So this week, I'm actually recommending a demo for an indie game that hopefully we will review on the show at some point when it comes out. It's slated to come out at some point this year. It's called Sulfur. So check out the Sulfur demo on Steam. It is essentially a first-person roguelike, which kind of has a simplistic art style. I was trying to think of a game that kind of reminds me of the art style, but I played a bit of the demo, and I do think it has a good amount of potential. It's still early. You can tell it's still early. I don't know if the textures of the game will change or just overall, just kind of the completeness of the game. But as far as like the way the gameplay loop feels and the gunplay, it's pretty satisfying. The enemy design is pretty cool. They're kind of like paper enemies, so anytime you're kind of looking at them, they're always kind of fixed to your perspective, which is cool. Unlike things in the rest of the world, you have a katana that you can start with. So it's just really it's been great. I haven't gotten through a full run yet, but you find different guns. You can modify those guns. You're gonna kind of work your way through these cave system levels. Defeat different enemies. You'll end up at an area at the end where you can obviously upgrade your weapons, upgrade your character, things like that. But overall, it's just been a really great demo for like discovery. So I would recommend, like, if you're interested in, if you like first person shooters, I would say, it's going to be a game you like. But I think really, if you like roguelikes, you're going to like this game quite a bit. It's just different than anything I've really ever played before. So hopefully, I don't know if it's being developed by one person, but definitely check out the Sulfur demo and also join their Discord. They're always posting stuff in their Discord. That's how I found out that the demo was live, as I checked out their Discord channel. So yeah, check it out. Sulfur demo. Not sure how much longer it'll be live for, but I imagine it'll be a good amount of time. So hopefully you guys get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, I downloaded it too. I haven't had a lot of time with it, but I love the art style, and roguelite I'm pretty into. Anything you're gonna throw at me, but my recommendation is clips, like little video clips of Stephen A. Smith. Now, if you don't know who Stephen A. Smith is, he's a sports first radio, now TV personality, and he's very eccentric. And to be honest, his sports takes kind of suck. He is often the wrong one when it comes to his sports takes. He does hate the Cowboys, so we kind of have to give him that at least. But I don't know when this started, but I guess he just started answering random Twitter questions on his show. And this guy is a different breed of human. And he answers all these wild Twitter questions so earnestly, and there's a comedy to it that I don't even know if he quite understands, right?
Yeah.
That how funny he's being. Like, people The one that I just watched that was so funny, and you could just search this on like TikTok, or even probably there's like a compilation on YouTube. Just look up Stephen A. Smith clips, or Stephen A. Smith Fortnite. Look up Stephen A. Smith Fortnite. Somebody sent him the picture of the map from Fortnite and says, Stephen A., where are we dropping? And he's like, I think I know what this is. I think this is Fortnite. And he goes into like all the reasons. They are not backed up by anything. He hasn't played the game. He is just looking around the different names of the map and just saying his opinion on why that is a good place to drop or isn't. He ends up landing on Tilted Towers because that's where the action's at. And that is what he says. And there's some, I don't even play Fortnite. And I'm like, that's hilarious. So
Yeah.
if you want something that's like almost the antithesis, it's a tough word to say, antithesis of like what like online comedy is turning into, is just like quick stuff. Stephen A., he lets it marinate. You know, he's gonna make you laugh because he's gonna build up to it, right? And you're gonna have to sit there and you're gonna be like listening to him because he is a good speaker. That's like the best thing about it. And oh man, it just gives me a nice good chuckle every time I watch one of these clips. It's just like, I mean, he's gonna say is Lightning McQueen the GOAT? That one, that's a great video.
Oh my God. That one, who would have known that he would have that knowledge about Lightning McQueen? Like, I was even just like, oh my God, like, I don't even know that.
He's like naming Lightning McQueen's accolades.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, like, that's insane. And it's just so freaking funny. I love it so much. But
one of my favorite ones too, just real quick, is like, I know, I think we watched this one recently. It's like someone submitted a tweet and it was like, it had a picture of them in the shower with a steak, like a big like tomahawk steak. And like, he's like, Stephen A. Smith, you know, have you ever eaten your steak in a shower? And if not, like, what are you afraid of? And then he just goes in. He's like, I don't want wet steak in the shower. It's so great.
I'll tell you what I'm afraid of: soggy meat, which is just so funny, man. Oh
yeah. And it ties into like the Tim Robinson like sloppy steak thing, where he just is like pouring the water on the steak. And everyone's like, oh, I guess he's never had a sloppy steak. It's great, like, because you know he's reading those comments, going like, I don't even understand what the comments are about. You know, I didn't even know what the question was about. It's great. It definitely a great rec room choice right there. Tom.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with what he says, but watching him answer these questions is something else. Now, this is another banger of an ep. Great game that we played, Board Blasters. Shout out. We have come to the end.
Yes.
And
unfortunately,
you can find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. And that's where I'll be tweeting mostly about Flesh and Blood, the trading card game, indie trading card game that I play a lot of, and have another podcast called Fresh and Buds, which you can go check out as well. It's a great time. Recently had Pro Tour winner Michael Fang on the show, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah. I mean, that's it. You can check us out on Fresh Juice Pod everywhere. But where can they find you, Maddie?
Yeah, if you want to check me out outside the show, at Maddie Gorm, GORM, on all the socials. But really, at the end of the day, just join the Fresh Juice Discord, because we're hanging out in there all the time, having a good time. And you know what I thought too, Tommy, is, would you think it would be cool in the Discord to have a channel called Dreams? And whenever we have a weird dream, we just post in there whatever the dream was. I think that's a cool idea.
That'd be a great idea. I had a wild dream last week, I'll tell you that. And last night. Holy smokes.
There you go. I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, so join the Discord. You know, shout out to Sploosh again. Join the Discord. So cool to get people in there that, you know, are new listeners to the show. So if you're listening right now, you're new, even if you're an old listener, join the Discord. That's a good spot to connect with us outside the show.
Shout out. So without any further ado, please stay fresh, you juice heads.